All right, so we are live. So definitely a really nice sell-off here today on Wall Street. Big gap up. This is what we call a gap and crap, essentially. So spiders gapping up, triple Qs gapping up, and then just kind of a really, we had this reversal right around the 11 o'clock time frame. We started to sell off a little bit sooner than that. And then it was really the European market close. We just dumped out. I don't know if you guys saw the daily analysis video. I kind of covered a lot of this, but I'll kind of go over it again. This is a nice reversal, especially for tech. I don't know if the broad market is quite topped out, though. And really, that is because if we look at the volume here, this volume on the SPY here is 71.5 million. Now, that's including after hours. We've been closed for about half an hour now. But at the close, it was about 64 million. So that's not what you see with a major, a topping signal usually. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but I want to see at least 100 million, usually 80 million at least, but at least over 100 million, I would have liked to see that. So what that leads me to believe partly is that a lot of this is a gamma unwind. And if you guys aren't familiar with that, essentially what that means is you have these stocks like Nvidia, AMD, Tesla, people aggressively buying call options. It forces the market makers to hedge it by buying the underlying stock. And, in case the stock does get to the said price, which they sold the call at, by the option expiry. And so they hedge by buying. And what you see happen is, you see it on Amazon a little bit too. This is actually a perfect example. So now that options X is done with last Friday, the market makers can sell all those shares that they bought to hedge. So now we're seeing the unwind in these names, and these names are all lower. The reason why I don't think it's necessarily a top just yet is because the volume's just not there. Especially in the SPY. Now, tech is another story. We got to this trend line, we closed above it on Friday, and that reversal there, that signals we're probably gonna have some more downside. So by the skin of our teeth, we're holding that QID position, and that it's paid off so far to maintain that. But essentially, I think tech may have topped out, but the reason why I don't think the market itself, the broad market, is necessarily topped yet is this selling. If this was a real top, we maybe would have stopped here. We came down, we sold off. Maybe we would have stopped here. It would not have stopped for long, though. It would have continued really hard. And for VIX or VXX to be only up 1.7%. Look, the VIX is only up 7%. That's not a big move for the VIX. You didn't even take out the highs from November 10th, which was this little dip here. So it's not like a major. It doesn't suggest major dumping is going on. There was a lot of dumping going on because of all that gamma unhedging, but it's not like it was enough to signal any sort of panic. But that said, that doesn't mean we can't hold up for a few weeks and then top out. I still think that the SPX specifically will top out by the end of the year. But tech may have done it a little bit sooner, and the reason why I think that is because I think yields are going to break out. And yields having a good day, and yields gapping up today, and I talked about this in the daily video. Yields had a gap up, and so did tech. So that was your first sign that something was wrong today. Also, the dollar also ripped higher, pretty much all day long. So that was another sign that something was wrong in this market, and probably signaled a bit of a reversal. But the market makers that were long those stocks, kind of rode this out. That they didn't cover immediately first thing in the morning. They just rode that algo pop that we got off of Jay Powell's renomination, and then they decided to sell once they got a nice little bang for their buck out of it. But so let's talk about a few things. So one of the few reasons why I think that we haven't necessarily topped out yet. Look at Tesla. Tesla was green today. There's a reason why I keep Tesla on my main screen here. It's because it's a very good leading indicator. Tesla was green today. That Tesla is a great gauge for the appetite of the market's risk. And so just finishing green, even though it came way off the highs, and you still held this resistance area 1174.50. Also, the weekly resistance here at basically 1200 was also tested, and that held. So the sellers did hold that, but Tesla was green. Also, take a look at the Dow transports. They actually had a nice day here. Nice little pop off that 20 MA. IYT as well. Broker dealers also had a nice day. XLF, you know, JP Morgan, if we can get it typed in. There we go, JP Morgan. You know, Goldman, Wells Fargo, KBE. So financials having a nice day. Chevron, XLE, XOM, you know, Phillips 66. Energy also having a nice day, which is, you know, again, something that happens with higher yield. So there is money rotation in this market. It's not just complete selling. If everything was down, all these stocks were down, it would be a different story. But, you know, we had Verizon bouncing, AT&T, but notice how T-Mobile didn't bounce. Why? Because AT&T and Verizon pay dividends. So these dividend yielding stocks, Walmart, Procter & Gamble, you know, a lot of the safety plays were bouncing today. So, I mean, that tells me that there is a little bit of rotation, but there is some caution going on. And Fins and XLE holding up, that definitely shows a rotation. And I don't necessarily think we've completely topped because of that. As long as there's money rotation somewhere, you know, you kind of want to give the market some type of an upside bias. But it is worth noting that, you know, the Dow was the leader today, the safety index, essentially. So, you know, and tech did sell off. So I think tech may have put in a good top here. It's possible. We need to see follow through. Now, it is pretty savage of them to do this during a holiday week. This is when everybody takes off. This week is notoriously a light volume week. You give the market a neutral to upside bias. You don't expect a lot of action. But for them to do this here now, if we had follow through tomorrow, if we have a gap down tomorrow and we flush and sell off on high volume, meaning more than 100 million shares, that would totally change my mind. And I think we would probably have a top confirmed. But until that happens, we'll just kind of take it one day at a time. I forgot to cover Bitcoin in the daily analysis video. I just want to go over that real quick. Then I'll get to a few other things, and then I'll get to questions. So Bitcoin did sell off. Oops, hold on. Okay, there we go. So Bitcoin did sell off, kind of like with everything. I think the risk here for Bitcoin is that if we have a deleveraging or some type of de-risking environment that hits specifically tech, it could hit Bitcoin as well, because Bitcoin, you know, a lot of people look at it as a safety asset, but it also carries a lot of risk. And especially right now, because there's so much leverage in crypto, if there was a major downturn in the market, it would hit crypto just based on the leverage hitting alone, the margin calling alone. But for right now, I think Bitcoin's got really good support right around, let me just draw a line in here for you. So right at this 53 handle, you know, 53.2, 53.3, it also coincides with this kind of upsloping trend line. So you also have that kind of, I think it's 50 moving average right there. So I think Bitcoin is fine, and Bitcoin is also trading. Let me just flip back here. It's also kind of following the same kind of pattern as like the IWM. So you got this breakout on Bitcoin, then a failed breakout on Bitcoin, and then you have kind of a failed breakout here on the IWM. And yields are the same thing. You had this tried to get above that neckline, that trend line, and then you pulled back, now you're back up. So I think Bitcoin has a chance to actually break out here, just for what that's worth. But yeah, I think Bitcoin's fine for now, but if we have a major deleveraging, that could change. So just keep that in mind. And then we'll go over gold, because I don't know, everybody probably didn't see the daily analysis video, but basically what I'm seeing in gold right now, we're below this head and shoulder neckline, which is, you know, a little unfortunate, but the main point here Gold is down 2.5. GDX is only down 2. Silver was down 2.5. SILJ was down 1.6. So we're seeing miners lead even as we're selling off. That's bullish. And this gold pattern, this inverse head and shoulders here, is a weekly pattern as well. So we could trade all the way down to, 1700. It's not going to happen, but we could trade all the way down to 1700 this week. And as long as it closes back above 1836, by the end of the week, this pattern is still valid. So we have 4 more days in the week, and gold has a chance to rebound. Now look at all the moving averages here. 50, 20, 100. That's going to be support. I mean, these moving averages are minor because you've traded through them so many times, but when all 3 of them together, that should act as support. This is also the area where you kind of broke out a little bit, so that should be defended. If that gets defended, if we close back above 1836.20, this thing probably blasts right through that neckline and just rips higher. Now, again, I talked about these 3 candles here. It took 3 weeks for it to roll over, so it may take 3 weeks for it to consolidate before a breakout. So just, be patient with it. We'll watch gold for a pattern here. I still think silver is okay. I just didn't like that closing below that inverse head and shoulder neckline on a weekly basis last week. Signaled to me that there was going to be more downside, but we'll still get a chance to get in this thing. So just be patient with it. And the fact that the miners are leading the metal is really awesome, really bullish. Especially on a day where we had this big of a takedown. To see GDXJ outperforming spot gold and GDX outperforming spot gold, that's very bullish. And to me, this is just kind of a shakeout. Too many people probably tried to jump in long up here, and they got to get out the weekends. So that's just how markets work. And let's talk about the VIX. So yeah, again, VIX up 7%, VXX, oops, not steel. VXX only up, 1 3/4. It's a nice pop, but we didn't even take out last week's high, or high from 2 weeks ago. If this was the move, it would not have stopped at that 200 moving average. It would have already been up to 22, 24. There would have been real fear in selling. I don't think this is the move. So yeah, I think we can absolutely, to answer your question, Marty, yeah, we can absolutely get it lower. And if tech tops out, so the VIX typically trades off of the SPX. There is a scenario where tech tops out and maybe the SPX doesn't. So I still think we have to watch the VIX. Now, if it bases and starts giving us a pattern, and I think that it's going to go higher, we'll jump on. But I just need to get a good buy signal from it. But for right now, with how dramatic of a sell-off this was, to see the VIX not really up that much, it's pretty remarkable. So definitely noteworthy. But we'll keep watching it. It is still a holiday week, so we have to see what happens tomorrow. They could just float this market back up into the weekend, and we could go up here and retest this trend line for all we know. But we have to see what we do tomorrow. But yeah, I'll just get into questions here. So for Leo, yeah, I kind of took a look at, I don't have a ticker for AYR. Actually, I could probably pull it up on TradingView, but I can look at this one. So TerraSense, so this one's actually holding up well, considering. And I still like the marijuana stocks. Just for the record, this actually hit really good support. So right here, about $5. This is where you broke out of, and then really oversold. Nice little pop off of that area. If it can hold this kind of area, nice little tail candle today. If it can hold that, then it can still advance. So that's a nice one there. I don't have a problem with that. And the global tech here, same kind of deal. This got really extended, but this was also kind of where you broke out of. This is your big green bar. You kind of retested that area, and it's holding the 20 moving average for now, and it had a nice pop last week. So this one's relatively strong. These two that you showed me, in comparison to like MJ, so this is the ETF. I think the biggest holding is CGC. which is holding double bottom for now. But those two that I just talked about, that you asked about, are holding up better than, you know, even Tilray. Aurora is still holding up pretty decently. I'd like to see it get a pop tomorrow. I don't want to see it close below 662, but I still like the marijuana stocks. I think they're just a no-brainer from a long-term perspective. It's just not just the United States, but more and more. I mean, you see what happened when the GOP just talked about a bill that could legalize marijuana, and it's going to happen eventually, especially now with the government spending as much money as they are. They need revenue somehow, and so this is a very good avenue for them. But yeah, from a long-term perspective, I mean, I think it's a no-brainer buy, because at some point they're going to legalize, and these stocks will double and triple overnight when, you know, the market figures out that that will actually happen. Yeah, Josh, I mean, that volume though. I mean, I knew there was going to be a volume increase, but I was looking for, so the last hour, it was about 2:30, I want to say. And I was looking at this market, it was 2 o'clock, 2:30, and we were only at like 40 million shares traded on the SPY. Like, bare minimum, if we're going to see a major reversal, you got to have 80 million shares, and that's bare minimum. Usually I look for 100 million or more. For instance, September 3rd, 2020, we had 148 million. That's reversal volume. That's reversal volume. You know, in here, you know, 161 million back in March 2020. Then it was followed by 218 million, you know. That's the kind of volume you need to see when you, that shows institutions are bailing on the market. And I didn't really see that today. But again, if we gap down tomorrow and limit down to 460 or lower even somehow, and it's on over 100 million, yeah, you'll know that we're done. But yeah, I mean, I knew the volume was going to increase. It's funny how they baited people. They baited the dip buyers. They let it kind of get all the way back up to that 472 handle, and then they faded it really hard. So that was a nice little sell there. You notice how the Qs were weaker all day long. So tech was the weak link, except for I'd say the last really hour. Tech actually sold off a little bit less than the spiders there, but you saw this bear flag. We had a nice bear flag on AMD intraday that played out nicely. That should play out tomorrow too. Nice little straight bear flag right there. That should have some more downside tomorrow. So for you guys that are holding the AMD short with me, that one's going to come back in tomorrow likely. So nice to see that. Yeah, Bitcoin's, you know, it's holding that. It hit that. So this is the Bitcoin futures. So I don't usually like to go off of this as much because it doesn't show the 24/7 or the weekend trading. So the moving average is a little bit different, but it's holding that 50 moving average for now. I do like it. There we go. I like it anywhere in this 53 area though. There's a lot of good support right here on Bitcoins. I mean, you know, it's just having a little pullback here. And anytime you have a failed breakout like that, it doesn't mean it can't go higher. It just means that maybe it needs to get some people out of the market before it does that. A good example might be like Apple here. So we had this kind of breakout here on Apple, and then we had this rollover, and it found support right here. See this pivot high right around 137. You know, we back tested that, and now it's pushing up. Nice topping tail though on Apple today, possibly. That's a nasty tail. And the same thing on Microsoft. Yeah, look at that. Nice reversal. Google, you know, Nvidia, Facebook, pretty nice reversal there. Let's see what Netflix did. Netflix off the highs. You know, we looked at Amazon earlier. That's a pretty big reversal there. So big tech coming down pretty hard. So yeah, so Miranda, higher yields correlate to negative tech. So think I explained this once before. I'm probably not the best person to explain it, but essentially, in a higher yield environment, it's harder for growth stocks to perform. Um, Basically, in a disinflationary environment or an environment where you have lower yields, um, tech stocks can like withstand, like growth specifically stocks can withstand those types of environments. That's why over the last, if you look at the last 10 years or so, we've had basically a disinflationary environment since 2007. The Fed has been trying to fight that. And what has performed the best over that time, well, it's, Netflix, Nvidia, Amazon, Apple. But what has performed, marginal since then? XLE. XLF is at all-time highs, but look how long it took it to get up there. Whereas, Apple is, you know, returned 10x since then. So when yields are breaking out, it's tougher for those growth stocks. No, it's possible we could see another 10% down. Um, I mean, this would be your breakout area, 22 for CCJ, Denison. Yeah, any visit of $1.50 or so, and that would coincide with that 100 MA. So yeah, you could see that. But 10% on these stocks is not that much though, because they have such a high beta now. Yeah, no, Gareth. Yeah, exactly. Gareth is kind of Gareth and Nick. They run the same company. I learned a lot from both of them. So, um, especially cycle work. But yeah, I mean, Gareth definitely knows what he's talking about, and he gets a lot of trolls now because he's a lot. He's gotten himself to a point where he's pretty, a pretty big name now. He's done a lot of Kitco interviews, and he's gotten pretty big. So he gets a lot of trolls, but he's definitely an excellent trader. Like, make no mistake about that. Yeah, yeah, Elliot's right. Yeah, tech relies on the cheap money to fuel growth. The higher the rates, the less they can borrow. And the Fed buying corporate debt, with it's all kind of tied together like that. But it's, yeah, in this low rate environment, you see, we have this QE environment, and we just looked over the last 10, 15 years. That's what we're seeing. It's just pushing yields down, and tech just bids up, and they just make the market every year. The market gets more and more concentrated into 10 stocks. And I tweeted this out earlier today before we had reversed. I tweeted this out when we were still like up here. I was like, it's days like today and really the last month or so, the last couple of weeks, where should we revisit the idea that markets should be like market cap weighted, or should they be equal price weighted? Because it's just, you look under the hood, and everybody I know a lot of, I talked to a lot of guys who are bullish and so on, and even they're pissed off over the weekend. They're like, I'm positioned long. I've been positioned long this whole time, and I was buying this dip in October, and I'm still flat to negative on all my positions that aren't FANG. So you're just getting punished for not buying anything that's FANG right now. Um, even no matter how bullish you are. I mean, look at Roku. This thing's just gotten obliterated. This might have bottomed today, though. PayPal. This thing also might have bottomed, but I mean, look at how far off the highs it is. There's tons of stocks that are in basically bear markets that I would call you a responsible investor for owning, but you're losing on owning them because you don't own Microsoft. I mean, like, look at this. This so TRY, is that the Turkish currency? Hold on. Yeah, the lira. That's right. Hold on. Yeah, I mean it's kind of hard to do. It's hard to do anything with this. They're having some major geopolitical problems. And it has, it has gone parabolic before, and it has crashed. So I mean, maybe that happens. I don't know too much about Turkey's economy geopolitically enough to like make a comment on that. It is ridiculously extended. It probably is for a good reason. If you gave me more time with it, I could try to come up with some type of a max move. But this has been, as you can see, ongoing for a long time. So I could try to come up with a max move. You send me a message later, and I'll do some more work on this. But I mean, it's parabolic right now. Let's look at apps. It's already been beaten up pretty hard. Are these guys do solar stuff, don't they? Digital Turbine. These solar stocks were doing pretty well. I actually think they're going to do okay moving forward. FSLR holding up okay. Ooh, interesting. Amgen's almost going to get down to my buy area. I didn't think it would. Got a good buy area on Amgen, but I'll give that out only for patrons, so I'll do that later. This is one of the few tech stocks I actually like here. I still think Amazon potentially has upside, and believe it or not. It's just really hard for me to argue with this 20 moving average that's upsloping. It hasn't lost that since really, what, the mid 2000s? 2008? Yeah, so 2008 is really the last time you lost this on a monthly basis. I mean, you had a few times where you closed below it, but you never confirmed it. And that's the same reason why I liked Netflix a few months ago. Just that 20 moving average. Netflix went parabolic, then it consolidated for a year, and, there you go. Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, it got a nice pop this morning first. You don't want to chase it here, though. I'd rather you see Taiwan Semi's doing kind of the same thing. I'd wait for this 20 MA to get a little bit closer. Micron's see, I think you missed your move. Like, you wanted Micron right here. This is where you wanted it, like at about 70, 68. That's where you wanted it. I mean, that's a draw. If I saw that myself, I would have taken it. We would have gone long with and Patreon. I didn't see it, but I mean, that's a beautiful setup right there, especially on the monthly. But it's just too much to chase it right now. Now, what you would do with this is just you got to let it consolidate on the daily time frame and the weekly. Look how you're extended here. If it goes sideways for a little while and holds up, then it can move higher. But you wanted it right in here. This is where you wanted it. But TSM, it's gotten a little bit weaker of a pop, but it's not as extended. So I would watch them. I would watch those. But I like the way you're thinking, though. Like, move away from the stuff that's blatantly overdone. you know, and the semis are still a good space. And over the long, doesn't mean they can't have a pretty steep correction, but semiconductors are an area where every time they sell off, they have massive rebounds. So I mean, I like that you're looking at the cheaper ones. Yeah, I know. I didn't. Yeah, you're the one that showed it to me. So, but I mean, there's all sorts of. I see this stuff all the time where I'll be scanning through and I'm like, oh, I wish I saw that a week ago. I wish I saw that a month ago. But um, you know, that's just the way it goes. Let's take a look. Futures. Yeah, so the future is kind of just hanging in there, consolidating. Yeah, it really just looks like this is a gamma unwind. Yeah. All right, so unless there's no other questions, I think I'm gonna get going. Gonna go scan through some charts and do some stuff here. But good group tonight. Nice hanging out with everybody. I didn't get any work done on the website. I was trying to do some this weekend. I just didn't get anything done. I'm gonna try and do some of that tonight too, and I'll get it in touch with everybody about the beta stuff going on. So I didn't forget about that at all. It's just just didn't get to anything this weekend. So I'm gonna try and get some of that done tonight though. Awesome. Thank you, Miranda. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thanks for coming out. I'll try and get one done tomorrow. See you later, Joel. All right, guys, take care. I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one.